First of all, I would like to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I want to start this conversation by saying that this is a safe space. It takes a lot for the individuals who are coming on here to share their stories and express their feelings. So I expect that everyone please let's keep it positive. That being said, I you know, I had no idea what I wanted to come on here and say tonight, because I feel a lot of us are hurting and a lot of us are in pain right now. Truth be said, I struggled the past few days with even considering how I should open up this conversation and open up this dialogue. So I felt that since this is something that continues to happen every year, and every year I continue to say the same shit, that I would repeat something that I wrote last year. I had a conversation with a friend of mine who happens to be white, and the conversation was around white privilege. We had this conversation out in the middle of social media, and if anyone who knows me knows that I am not that person. I just don't engage in that type of stuff online publicly, but something had moved me to make a comment. The same way that I feel moved now to have and engage in this conversation with people, I still today, like I was then, at a loss of words. So I felt that I would just read the conversation that I actually had with another individual, my friend, who also has a daughter the same age as mine. So bear with me for a second. This is how the conversation went. If you stop for a second, you yourself and even your daughter have afforded quote unquote white privilege. The fact that you don't realize it isn't sad, but shows that you yourself don't even understand the benefits. I grew up in the suburbs in what most would classify upper middle class. My father was an engineer for GE. My mother ran a company. I didn't live remotely close to any type of projects or low income area. And would easily classify my neighborhood as safe and a family-oriented place to live. The schooling system was and still is one of the best in the country. Now, although I lived in this safe environment, my parents had to have conversations with me that yours likely would not have had to have with you. The fears that my parents had were different from the fears that your parents had. At the age of 16, when I got my driver's license, I wasn't able to drive alone. My parents were terrified. I'm sure yours were as well, but both for different reasons. Your parents were worried that you wouldn't get into an accident. They just wanted to make sure that you came home safely. Mine had similar worries about getting home safely, but mine feared for my life at the hands of police officers. Before I stepped foot into a car for the first time, my parents had to teach me how to speak to an officer when pulled over, my tone of voice, my body language, how I could reach my hand out the window and open the door safely to ensure that, let them know that I don't have a weapon, how to reach, these were things that I was taught. And this was commonplace for me and a lot of other Black people. The types of conversations that your parents likely did not have with you. When I was 14, my best friend, also Black, and I were stopped by two police cars while walking to another friend's house at 11 p.m. They asked where we were headed, what we had on us. They pressed us against the hood of their car, took everything out of our pockets, tore open our juice boxes and poured them on the ground and literally said, "Do you have drugs in these?" They put us in the car, took us back to their home because they didn't believe us when we said where we lived, that we lived in the nice part of town. They walked me to my door and had me put my key in the door to show that I wasn't lying. I recall a birthday party with friends, also Black, that I went to at a hotel. Same age. Not one person there was over the age of 17. We were 16. When the party had ended, they asked everyone to leave the parking lot. There was a crowd of kids. And instead, we decided to stick around to see where we wanted to actually go to next, what they would call loitering. I'll never forget being the first one to turn my head to the right. I'm sorry. turned my head to the right to see a white van that said K9 unit on it. And they fucking released dogs on us. This was my parents' worst nightmare. This is what kept them up every night. These are the nightmares that your parents might not have had. So while I'm sure we love our daughters equally, I can promise you that your privilege will steer you clear of the fears and concerns and conversations that I will one day have with my daughter. This is what saddens me, and this is what keeps me up at night. So these are a few of the privileges that you have been gifted, and to no fault of your own, you may not clearly see. So that is the conversation that we'd had. And when people ask me how I feel about what's going on right now, I feel fucking angry. When white people ask me, can I help? What can I do? I don't fucking know. I have been dealing with this, and we have been dealing with this for years. I personally, for 40 plus years, have been dealing with this. I have to walk out of my house in fear of not coming back home to my family. When I see police or red and blue lights flicker behind me, whether it's for me or not, my ass puckers up. So this is nothing new, right? This is something that we've been dealing with for a long time. And while I'm happy that a lot of people have reached out to me, this is, again, something that we have been seeing for so long. The difference is now, with the advancements of technology, it allows us to actually witness and see these on film. So I'm fortunate to have this group of individuals with me tonight because they are individuals who truly inspire me. And I most certainly could not have this conversation without them. So the first person I'm going to actually have up here is Meyer, for many reasons. She is one of the most senior black creative directors in the advertising space. The both of us make up like 2 of 7 or 8 of us that have made it to senior vice president in the country. And that's a fucking sad story. But Shannon, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having me. We could make up, I think, a city bus.
We certainly could. You look fantastic. Why you always have dope glasses?
Well, it's because I've been getting to the point that's going to be made tonight. I have been fighting a migraine, and protecting my vision is a big part of that.
Yeah.
And so I've been like, that's a dope glasses, thank you, but this is 100% self-care at this point because I'm starting to like actually not be able to read words on a page from stress.
I get it. Well, it's a fucked up place to be, right? It's a fucked up place to be. So I think we're all dealing with this in a lot of different ways. I struggle with even having to have this conversation tonight. Can you just tell folks about how you feel and how you've been managing?
How do I feel? I deal with things, and I deal with different things in different ways, as most people. And for those who know me personally, I kind of go to like the deep, maybe dark, humorous side of myself to deal with a lot of trauma. And that's just, because I grew up the way that I grew up, like I grew up what I like to call hood adjacent. My mom is, I'm the second woman in my family to go to college. My mom was the first, but as she reminds me to this day, you are not even 2 steps away from the projects in terms of, your family history, in terms of where we live right now and the neighborhoods that I frequented growing up, and then returning into like more Black suburban areas as well. And so to be in a time like this, I made a statement, but I put something out publicly, like I had to actually search for feeling in this because I found myself having a very opposite reaction, which was no reaction. Like Breonna broke my heart though. And I'm not, pitting one against the other, but to think that you can't be safe in your house, I put a lot of stock into, the home that I live in, and it is a safe space. I'm married to a man, a tall, dark-skinned Black man who walks around with power tools every day and enters white spaces every day and has been mistaken you know, for someone who's not supposed to be there and before, and kind of like walking around with that fear. And, but when you're home, you're home.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
In
Like,
your comfort zone. Yeah.
and right. And so, you know, that just completely made it numbing to me. So to answer your question, how do I feel? I think right now I'm in a point where I'm incredibly angry. I am incredibly frustrated, but I realize the incredible opportunities that have been given to me and the responsibilities that it means. You know, and I'm trying to channel this energy into action, into multi layers of action, just meeting people, you know. I've been saying this all day, meeting people where they are and what they can do.
Yeah.
Because right now, I know I cannot afford to be paralyzed by my anger right now. I have a brain, I have a resources, I am privileged in a lot of ways, and I have to weaponize that right now for my people. And you know, to quote Brother Malcolm, by really by any means necessary. And I have my moments. You know, I've definitely woken up like crying.
Yeah.
But if you know me, if you really, really know me, you know me. I'm like, okay, so what are we about to do?
Yeah.
And right now, I'm just focused on doing to keep me sane.
Yeah. So, I mean, I tell a lot of people that like this is not new, right? I think that the situation is amplified because these three incidents over the past week, where everyone is home, there are people who don't have jobs, and so it just feels like a lot of weight is on us right now. Do you feel that this is different in any ways? I mean, what are your thoughts?
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't mean to laugh at that question,
Yeah.
but
Good. Good.
not,
Yeah.
absolutely not. I think, well, you know, I think the only difference is, you know, the focus level of attention
Yeah.
that is happening right now. I think the major difference, the more, I don't want to say macro difference, but like, yeah, let's call it that, is that, you know, we are seeing content now because we are able to film content on our own.
Absolutely.
You know, the
Absolutely.
advent of, you know, violent acts against Black and brown people and the advent of personal mobile technology are like this.
Yeah.
And that's no, you know, that's not a mistake in a way. And
Yeah.
so is it a, what's different about it, I think, is a compounded stress that we have with this virus, with being confined, with raising children and teaching children, something that, you know, in our modern society has never been built before. And so, you know, it's falling on us, you know, the way that COVID has affected our community. And so if you already have those stressors that are happening right now, and now, you know, you have to deal with this all over again. And then even if you want to get out there and show your voice, knowing that you are walking into an unsafe situation, not because you might get attacked by, well, yeah, you probably, you know, get attacked by police, but also you may contract a virus that may kill you.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And so it's kind of like,
Yeah.
so is it different? Not necessarily, especially if you grew up with this technology, but is it compounded?
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one thing I could say is I have a lot of white friends, and that's cool, but the amount of text messages I got from white people the past 3 or 4 days has been through the fucking roof. Like every hour on the hour is like bing. It's like I have my 60-minute alarm clock.
I am popular. I am the most popular person right now. Like I just look at them all, and I have like, you know, canned responses, and I'm actually looking at a sheet right now that this sister's colleague. I don't. If you're watching, I do not want to disrespect your last name, so I'm going to say Ilunga. And Martina Abrams put together in like this protect your energy doc that's been going around. I've just been like copying and pasting and
Yeah.
everything, but I even made a mention in the Facebook group that I started for Black women in advertising called Tony. And I was just like, I'm having like a solidarity, like fever right now. Like it's to the point where I'm like, I didn't know that you cared about me that much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Try talking to me at work.
Wow.
You know, and then
Yeah.
like, how many people have my number? That's been like the other thing too. Like, how many people really do have my number out here? I know that most of my friends, and when I say my friends, I mean people who I've been to their homes. I've fellowshiped with them, you know, on personal levels. I've met their friends. When I talk about like my friends, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I know that they mean well. We've had great conversations. I know that there's a level of decorum for coworkers as well, and I respect the energy. I do. I don't take it advantage whatsoever. But I just wanted to be known that that's not it.
Yeah.
Like reaching out to me to see how I am. I live a life just like you.
Yeah.
I lost people to COVID.
Yeah.
I don't know. I butt my head the other day. Like it's a little bit of everything, but like don't stop there. You know what I mean? I just don't want it to be made out that, you know, this little gesture is the gesture, because that's only the beginning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to ask you one more question, and this might be a weird one, but like, where do you see this being the moment that changes things, right? Like, do you think finally we are going to see action taken, or is this just another moment in time where people are like running out in the streets protesting, and then 3 weeks it's back to another problem?
I think that's on us.
Us, people of color, or the world as a whole?
I think that's on us collectively, but okay. You know how we use the term, you know, stay on somebody's neck. We have to stay on necks and beyond the election.
Yeah.
You know, I think that with every, let's call them uprisings, even though I don't really like that term for just weird semantic reasons, but if you call it that, right, or civil unrest or whatever, I think everything begets another thing. Yep. You know, I was reading today around the LA riots, and you're starting to see it in other cities, that instead of, you know, going into lower income, quote unquote, Black and brown communities, people are going into more luxury enclaves, like Soho got it.
Yeah.
You know, not Beverly Hills, Hollywood got it, Santa Monica got it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not praising that at all, but I think that is a major kind of shift happening in the sense of even how we, you know, where we focus. So that could be one, the amount of brands, which is a whole nother conversation, brands and partners and businesses or whatnot coming out and saying something. Like a lot of people are starting conversations.
Yep.
And so I think that is a potential shift into what's next.
Yep.
But do I think that this will change? Yes, because I think culture changes with every single one of these. Do I think we will get what we are ultimately asking for? Not if we do not continue this momentum. And I'm not talking about civil unrest. I'm talking about just pressure to show up and to turn something that can easily be co-opted into a trend, into a behavior.
Yep.
Like that's the real work that we
Absolutely.
Don't really talk about that, because there's psychology with that. There is, you know, there's a lot with that, and it's real work on both sides, to be quite frank. And so if we're willing to do it, I think, I don't know if we're going to get there, but I think we're going to get one step closer. I
agree. You are incredible.
Thank you, friend.
Always. I see people blowing up re-quoting you. I'm sure it's all over Instagram and Twitter already.
I hope my mom's watching. Hi, Connie.
Well, look, thank you so much for joining us tonight, Shannon. I appreciate your time. We appreciate your voice, and continue doing positive shit.
Thank you. And you too. And I thank you for having me for this conversation. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone else, Mark especially, because you know I love you. And let's keep it going. You know, I would love to have this conversation maybe with a different cast of maybe less melanated type of people.
I got you. With you.
But I think that these roundtables, and even in the way how we shift, how we come together and like industry conferences and things of that nature, let's keep it going. And you're a big part of that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.
That was amazing. So the next conversation we're going to have here is with a gentleman. Next conversation here we're going to have is with another gentleman who, again, like you have seen all of this guy's work. And if you don't know who he is, trust me, you've seen a ton of fucking movies that he's created. This guy is the ghostwriter for just about all of your fun. Well, look, I'm gonna let you
Not
go.
Ghost. They know who I am. I don't ghostwrite. I make sure my name is on the script and they get it.
What's up, brother?
A lot of people don't know some of the things I do, so yeah, I guess kind of ghost-like.
Let people know who you are. I think it's important.
My name is Chris Spencer. I'm a writer, producer, director, actor in Hollywood. I've created such shows as Real Husbands of Hollywood. I write for all the award shows, Emmys, BET Awards, Image Awards, Hip Hop Awards.
Nice.
Currently working on a few projects with some prominent people who you know and love. I worked on Kids Say the Darndest Things with Tiffany Haddish recently.
Yep.
I have a couple of projects with Kevin Hart. I'm old. I've been around. Look at this.
You getting it? You getting it though?
Yeah.
Clear.
You know, so funny watching you, because people tell me I do this thing and you do it. Like
Yeah,
I
that's a bad.
kid.
That's a
And
bad. I think it's the lights.
Maybe it is, but I see you doing it. I go, oh, that's what they think. They think I'm mean because I do this. I think it's when you're reading the comments, you're kind of going.
I keep trying to kind of like compose my face a little bit and relax.
Yes. Yeah, my wife wants me to get some Botox or whatever it is right here. I say, you must be crazy.
Yeah. Hilarious. Chris, man, you've seen some of the conversation here.
Yeah.
You're out on the West Coast in LA. I mean, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot here, the first conversation you and I had on this topic about doing the live, you were like, I don't know. You know, I don't know yet. And then the next day you're like, all right, I'm good. Let's do it. Yeah. Tell me where tell me where your mind is at right now with everything that's going
on. It just depends on the moment.
Yeah.
So right now I just heard, you know, I live in a nice little suburban neighborhood, and I heard there's some guy, there hasn't even been any protesters in my neighborhood. Like, I think there was 5 on the street that somebody just told me. Yep. And there's some guy in a truck waving a rifle saying, niggas go home.
Wow.
Yeah. And so,
wow.
You know, and I ride my bike around here all the time. My kids play, and it's like, I got to deal with that. Yeah. You know what I mean? I live in this, it's just crazy right now. So it's just like, you know, how do you arm yourself? Do you, I don't know. Everything's about protection of my babies and my wife, and you know. So it's just like, you get angry. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
So I mean, you've seen many of these unfold as I have. What is your thought on what has caused so many people now to say enough is enough? Like what do you think?
I think the weekend was just too much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With Floyd, Cooper in that was, you know, in Central Park.
Yeah.
The young lady in Louisville. It just all came to a head where we were like, okay, this is enough. And as you can see, every state is protesting, and countries from around the world are starting to go, you know what, this is some bullshit, and we all need to actually jump on board. And like you said, we have these white friends calling saying, what can we do? What can we do? And it's like, it just came to a boiling point. You know what I mean? We've seen it happen before with Tamir and Trayvon and Rodney King. Like, but I think today was the day. This week was the week. It was like some shit is about to change, or we're going to have a civil war.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? And it feels like now people are ready to die for what they believe in. Like all that stuff we heard about our parents and grandparents dying for what they believe in. It looks like we've gotten to that point where we're ready to die for what we believe in.
It's true, man. So let me ask you: when you see this boiling point, you see it happening, right? If you turn on the news, it's every minute of the day. I feel like. What do you think about the looting, right? Like in the breaking shit and the fires and like, what is your thought?
I got 2 thoughts. One is all of my LA life. Everybody in LA is that, why y'all always in the hood? Why don't y'all go to Beverly Hills? Well, it's like they fucking went to Beverly Hills. It's like they hurt us because they realized they were destroying our communities. But now, I don't believe in looting at all. You know what I mean? I believe in a peaceful protest, and it's gotten ignorant. And like I had some friends the other day that went out, because you see these white boys, you know, they're they're breaking windows with skateboards and running off and being happy, and you see white people handing black people bricks. And I saw another video where some white guy was paying people to loot for him, and it's like one lady came up to this white kid and said, "Excuse me, young man." He was breaking the window. She stopped him, a white lady. She grabbed his face. She goes, "Do you know why we're out here?" He's like, "No." She's like, "No. Do you have any idea? Do you know about the man in Minnesota? Do you know his name?" The kid had no idea, but he was just out there wilding.
Wow.
Just out there wilding. I have a group of friends.
Wow.
They're going out, and you see these white boys looting, and they're asking them questions about Black history. And if they can't answer them, they've been whooping their ass.
Wow.
A little crazy, but it just it tickled me. He's like, "What's Martin Luther King's wife's name?" "I don't know."
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's a little too much, but I understand I understand. I mean, that's just his background. That's how he grew up, and just to see them fucking up the legacy and what we're out here trying to do is just disheartening.
Yeah. You're a writer, right? You've written all these shows, all these movies. If you were to write a story about what's happening now and where we end up in 2021, what would that story look like?
It would probably start off with a guy who was nonviolent, maybe not even down with the cause as much as he thought he should have been. Because every now and then, we all get that black wake-up call, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Like, and so I think probably in this story, I probably shouldn't pitch. I should pitch this offline. Now it's starting to sound good. You would see the arc of a guy who wasn't all the way with it, that eventually gets his card pulled and then becomes, very vigilant and very active in trying to help the community.
Right. How would that end? I mean, if you were to foresee like where we are, like new president, same president, like
right.
Things...
I think, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a happy ending kind of guy, but sometimes there's not a happy ending. You know what I mean? But the way I see this really playing out is I feel like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You know what I mean? It's like how, we fought to get more black coaches in pro sports and more black owners, and how we fought to get more black television stations and black radio station owners and black television shows and black. It feels like this is the bubbling that's about to create that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because more people, I think, since our white friends weren't, I don't know if the word is privy or never ever had to actually dive in and find out what's going on, it just felt like something, it didn't feel as important to them as it does to us.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep,
and
absolutely.
Now I think it's touching them, as you can tell by the phone calls that we're getting, that, wow, this is some shit that I didn't know about. And so now they're looking up redlining districts. They're looking up the 13th Amendment. They're looking up these things that have affected our community. And they see how we've had an unfair advantage from the beginning of, us trying to basically be humans.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll ask one open-ended question here. One last one is, what if there's anything? There are a lot of white people watching right now, right? And the amount of white people who checked in tonight I was surprised and excited and happy about that as well. So thank you all for participating in the conversation. If there is something that you would want to share with them about moving forward, do you have anything insight or anything you'd like to say?
Well, Neil Brennan, who's the co-creator of the Chappelle Show and a brilliant writer, you can check out his Instagram page. He was like, if you're in a position that you could help somebody black, then do it. You know what I mean? Like if you're the head writer in a writer's room and you're working on a talk show and the talk show host thinks he's woke, yet your writer's room is white, but you have the ability to make that room not white, then you should hire some black people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you're in your workplace, if you have the ability to make this this work environment more colorful so we can know about each other and learn about each other's environment. See, we've always had to know about them because we've always had to work with them. But many times they never have to work with us, so they don't know about us.
Right.
So they're getting images from TV and videos and, hearsay and they don't know black people like they should know black people, like how we know white people. We know the difference between this white guy and that crazy white guy. We know the difference between that crazy Mexican and that cool Mexican. We know the difference between that crazy black guy and that cool black guy. They don't know the difference. They just know black.
Yeah.
They just know one thing. So they're never involved or surrounded by us in working environments or in recreational environments.
Yeah.
So get to know your local black person. How about that?
I love that, man. I love that. Look, brother, I appreciate your time, man. We all appreciate you being with us and your voice again. I mean, you carry a lot of weight in everything that you do. So continue to push, brother. And I'm looking out for that next movie. If you need help working on that, we could pair up and do it together. I can't
hear you. What'd you say? Actually, check us out tonight. We have the show Date Night with my wife Vanessa and I, and usually we interview a celebrity couple. We've had Holly Robinson and Rodney Peete, and we had Boris Kojos, and we had Tiffany Haddish. We've had D Nice. So it's not necessarily couples, but tonight we decided not to do a couple. We're going to do a town hall, similar to what you're doing right here. And so I would love for you to come on and
absolutely. I'll be there, my man. I'll be there.
Right.
Appreciate the offer.
Brother. Thank you, guys.
Take it easy. Have a good one, man.
Thank you.
Okay, that was fantastic. So the next person coming up here is someone that, oh man, like this is a brother who I go to. I mean, look, as a black executive and creative, I truly, in my 20 years plus, have not had anyone that I can go to for help. I just recently paired up with Shannon, which was amazing. But this gentleman here is a brother who has reached out to me and really pulled me in and given me so much insight. Mr. Mark Strachan, how are you, my man?
Outstanding, brother. How you doing, Walter?
I'm there,
Good.
man. I mean, why don't we first tell folks who you are, man, for those who don't know?
Well, wow.
You've done it all.
I'm an African-American man, born in Bushwick, Brooklyn. Not gentrified Bushwick, Brooklyn, but Bushwick, Brooklyn back in the day.
Yeah.
Of Bahamian descent. I'm the father of 3, a son and 2 twin daughters. I'm a husband and I'm a lucky husband of an outstanding wife. I've got outstanding in-laws and outstanding family. I'm an advertising and marketing executive. I've been privileged in the regard of rising up through the ranks in advertising to the level of EVP, Chief Client Officer at Publicis Sapient. Probably one of many of us running around with that title. I've had an outstanding career at Diageo in marketing in the area of beverage, alcohol, and spirits. I'm a MAPE graduate. I'm a constant believer that it is my responsibility, just like you're doing, to reach back and bring those others along and not just open doors, but kick some fucking doors open so that people can come through. And that's kind of who I am.
You've kicked through a lot of doors. You certainly have. And I know a lot of the people that know you that are watching now can vouch. I already see people shouting you out. Here's where I want to start, man. The other day, you and I were talking, and we had a good conversation, as we normally do. You went in and started to tell me about a conversation that you had with friends, and what I don't want to kind of burst it for you, and let you explain it in the extent in which your friends felt, and many people you spoke to, that they need to arm themselves out of safety, right, in the fear of their lives. Would you mind sharing that?
Yeah, there's I mean, what we're seeing right now is a result of something that's been bubbling up and boiling over for years, and that pot has just been ignited. It's not even dynamite; it's C4, and we've reached a point where, there was a time when individuals might say, somebody of an African-American man that might think he needs to arm himself, is doing something illegal or is involved in illegal activities. But I had a conversation with I was on the phone with about 100 African-American men across the country, Many of them are of the belief, for the first time in their life, that in order to protect themselves and their family, these are high-end businessmen, men of finance, marketing, banking, that they must find ways to arm themselves, legally or illegally. And I was taken aback, not shocked by it in the sense that they felt that way, but taken aback that now it has become very pervasive, because the feeling is that the inequality of the fact that they're armed and I'm not puts me at another disadvantage. And it's a very, very telling dynamic in terms of where we are and where we need to go. And again, as an African American man who has been the brunt and have felt the brunt of many of these injustices personally, I get it. I get it. Most recently, you know what? Like, this is not Tupelo, Mississippi. This is not backwater Alabama.
Yep.
All right. I'm standing on the corner of Union Square and 4th Street, literally 4 or 5 weeks after our current president was elected. I'm coming off the job, got my nice suit on, I got my briefcase, the light's about to turn, and an SUV breezes past me and almost hits me. I have to jump back on the sidewalk. And the passenger window, the rear passenger window was open, and a young white man sticks his head out, and his response was, "Yeah, nigga, back up. It's our fucking time."
Wow.
Union Square, Manhattan, not Tupelo, Mississippi, not backwater Alabama, not 1965, but 2019. All right, this is it was 2017. These are the situations that we're dealing with. And so when you talk about what's going on and where we stand and why we're here, it's very, very convoluted. All right, and there are many tentacles to this. I had somebody recently tell me that, you know what? I'm not so sure you're C-suite material. Excuse me? Considering I've been doing this for how long? I remember my first experience at Compton Advertising before the Sachis came in, and I got off the elevator as a MAPE intern in an agency that has paid for me to be there. People are prepared for me to be there, and I get there and someone says, "Excuse me, sir, but clearly you must be in the wrong place."
Wow.
Not only was I in the wrong place for them, but I definitely was on the wrong floor, because that was the account management floor. And clearly none of you deserve to be on this floor, much less in a suit and tie. I can't tell you the times when I'm driving up to be a guest at a country club for an event that I have sponsored, paid for the sponsorship, and had someone tell me, "Sir, the caddy's parked down behind the cafeteria." So we watch these things. I've watched my friends and associates not receive the accolades and opportunities that they so desire or should achieve after they have gone through the steps that, quote unquote, were talked about. You must go to college. You must do this. You need to get the MBA. You need to do this. You need to do XYZ. Get the, like Chris said, get the nice house, live in a, and find themselves treated no differently than anyone else simply because of their race, not their ethnicity. Because ethnicity is dramatically different than race, but solely based on the fact of their race and their skin color. So now I have to have the conversation again with my son, who just became a dad, of 10 and 2.
Yep.
I thought I was done having that conversation.
Now I know what a 10 and 2 is. Do you want to explain?
Yeah. So 10 and 2. You intimated to it a little bit when you started. When you get in your car and you are stopped by a person of authority, namely the police, a state trooper, your hands immediately go to 10 and 2 like on a clock. And you don't move until they come to the glass. And the way it was taught to me is you wait, they tap on the glass, and this recently happened to me. And what do you say? "Officer, can I roll down the window?"
Exactly. Same thing I was taught. Same thing to a
Then
T.
you roll it down, you haven't moved your hands, you listen to whatever bullshit he has to say, and then he'll tell you license and registration. And Richard Pryor made a funny joke about it, but like, I'm reaching into my pocket for my license, and my registration is in the glove compartment.
Absolutely.
But more importantly, you have to ask for permission to move. Because any slight movement, any slight concern, and the most recent time that it happened to me, the gentleman that was outside looked like he was 21. Walter, he could have been my son.
Yep.
But more importantly, not only was he a trooper there, and I am here now calling him sir, but I could see the fear in his eyes as we're on this dark, lonely road of stretch of I-87. And at any slight movement, he could have taken me out.
Yep.
That's 10-2.
Yep. So my next question is, does this change this? Does this change any of that? I feel like more white people now are tuned in and ready, right, to help make this work. So do you think that this is enough?
People have said it before me today, and I think people will say it long ago. And if you listen to some of the young people that I'm so proud of that's been on CNN, many of the young community-based organizers around the country who now have had this opportunity to come forth and a platform to talk about the work that they're doing. The only way we're going to see change, and change might not happen in our lifetime, will be constant pressure. You know, Gil Scott-Heron's song, The New Deal, talks about that. We let up the pressure, and that was all part of their plan. And every day we allow it to slip through our fingers, plays right into their hands. The more you sit back and take the pressure off that pot that's been boiling, all right, the more opportunity they have to allow it to continue. Mm-hmm. And so the other way is economics. We have talked about this for years, but we have the ability to shift and drive the economics. I mean, our basic country, slavery was all about economics. And what was control about those economics was fear and control.
Yep.
You drive fear to control the people to keep the economics flowing. That then manifested into what we're dealing with today. So as a result, we must keep the pressure on consistently. All right, we have gotten wrapped up, and the beauty of what's come out of this, and there's nothing beautiful, but if there's anything positive that's come out of this, is that we got caught up in that wonderful warm blanket of Obama that made some of us feel kumbaya. We had reached the mountaintop, and now the kimono is open, and you realize, no, you ain't reached the mountaintop, my man. When the kimono opened, there's a sawed-off shotgun in there ready to blow your head off. Mm. There's a billy club ready to knock you upside your head. There's a horse that's ready to trample you if you get in my way. And I will fire you. I will fire you if you so choose to get up on your hind legs and challenge me. So we must continue to not fall into the trap of being comfortable. And I know that's hard for many of us in this reality, because it doesn't matter if you protest or not protest. My skin doesn't change. I'm still an African-American man. It doesn't matter if you hide behind the safety of your VP title or SVP title or what have you. They still see you as the person of color that you are. And in many cases, you must truly think of how you are going to perceive and what is your role in moving this movement forward. You cannot let the pressure go up. I mean, our president of 8 years walked away with no scandal. Now think about it. You got an African-American man in the White House, no scandal.
Yep.
In a country with the best intelligence system in the world, no scandal with his wife, no scandal with his mom, no scandal with his brother-in-law, no scandal with his kids. And then ultimately, the only issue we have with him is he wore a tan suit.
Tan suit.
I mean, that's that big of an issue. He wore a tan suit. Come on.
Yeah. My man, I appreciate your time tonight, man. I feel like we could continue on for hours, but this has been amazing, and I want to say again how much I personally appreciate you and your voice. You've been a mentor for me for some time now, and I appreciate it, man.
Hey, it's my responsibility. The people who came before me, many of them did it for me. I stand on their shoulders. You can stand on mine.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. So look, you be safe out there, man.
I will.
Appreciate your
I got
time,
you. You got my back. I got yours.
I got you, man. Always. Take it easy, Mark.
Peace out, y'all.
All right. That is that brother is definitely something. So now we're gonna move on to another lady here who, I mean, most of you are gonna see her and know who she is. If most of you watch Empire, she was on Empire, but she's also an incredible artist. V, thank you so much for spending your time with us tonight.
Hi, Walter. Thank you for having me.
Oh, come on, anytime. I guess, do you want to open up and tell people a little bit about who you are and what you do, or what you're working on, anything of that nature?
Sure. I'm an artist, singer, songwriter, producer, actress. I've been around for quite a while. I work with, been signed to or work with the likes of Babyface, CeeLo Green, Timberland, and a lot of people know me from Empire.
Yep.
Grammy nominated from the song that most people know, I guess, of me from What Is Love.
Yep.
So I've
Dope
been
song.
around.
Dope song. Yeah, indeed. I guess let's start here. When you and I had a conversation recently, a few days ago, and I'll never forget. We were chatting. You said, "Hey, let's connect in the morning." I just got back from the protest, and you yourself had an incident that evening.
Yeah.
Do we? Can we start there?
Sure. I mean, it's pretty heavy. We went out and I protested probably even prior days before the protest on Saturday. It was peaceful. It was with Black Lives Matter. I went with I actually went by myself and met my friend that's an artist, and we just were peacefully protesting about, you know, the things that we believed in, our rights and so forth. So Saturday comes and it's another protest in Santa Monica, and this is like the west side of town, you know, close to Beverly Hills.
Yep.
Same thing. You know, it was good energy, good vibrations. Everybody was on one accord, and, you know, just young people together, just making their voices be heard. So we marched westward towards Beverly Hills, and we are met with a line of police officers, you know, in their, I guess, riot gear, you know, batons out, just, I guess, at their stance, ready for whatever. But we were just walking. We were just, you know, standing there walking. And, you know, I'm a real big observer. You know what I mean? I really was wanting to see for myself, what was this, you know, narrative that I had been seeing as far as their aggression, as far as, you know, what they, you know, how aggressive they were going to get with the people. I was just watching. Mm-hmm. And interestingly enough, I saw more Latinos and Asians on that front line of officers.
Interesting.
That kind of like, it made me, you know, go, you know, very ironic. Mm-hmm. But also I saw the commanding officer, you know, maybe in his 50s, older white guy, very aggressive, very mad, very agitated. He wanted smoke. And he literally ordered the officers, he said, start pushing them, start shooting at them, just go, start, go, push them, start pushing them, start pushing them. So he ordered the officers to do it, but I could tell that those officers did not want to do that. Wow. I could tell they didn't. They were Asian and Latinas all on that front line, Black officers as well. And, you know, when they gave the order, we turned around, we started going the other way like we didn't, you know, we didn't want the smoke. But it's, interestingly enough, things just started happening so fast all around me. And I all of a sudden get pushed by that very same officer that was the commanding officer, pushed to the ground, trampled over, kicked my phone very intentionally. And I just was, you know, caught off guard because I'm like, you know, somebody pushes you in the back and you're not even like prepared for it. Yeah. So he literally knocked me down, and, you know, all these people trampling over me, these cops trampling over me. And this one cop, you know, he helped me and, you know, upped and found my phone and was like, get out of here, you know. But I say that to say, you know, what you guys are seeing in the streets is very, very, very real. You know, people are out there for a good cause because they want change. So a lot of young people that are fired up, that are passionate. And are willing to, you know, go to the ends of the earth for their liberties.
Yeah.
And I'm all the way with that.
Look, I appreciate that, because I think that, you know, there are a lot of us who wish we could be out there, right, on the front lines and be out and protesting, but in some cases we can't. I mean, has that kind of put you in the headspace of not wanting to go back out again out of fear for being hurt?
I mean, being Black is dangerous to step outside of your door.
Yeah.
So for me, it's no different.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't my first march. That's not going to be my last march. Can we do things in different ways to add to the movement? Absolutely. I really feel like such a time as this, we need to make sure that we really, really armor ourselves with as much knowledge as we can, because that's truly, in my opinion, I think that's our weapon. If we're on one accord and understand, like, you know, what's going on out here as far as mainstream media, as far as politically, as far as, you know, just internationally. If we really, and as far as our history, if we really armor ourselves with knowledge and understand, you know, where this stems from, why we're here, and just be on one accord when it comes to that, I think that a lot of people will be far more secure as far as like where to go, as far as what to do, as far as how to respond, as far as, you know, certain things. Because if you're just out here, you know, amped up and you're mad and you're this and you're that, but you don't have a plan of action, it's kind of like useless. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's,
you know,
what I am in my head.
There's been a lot of talk of who's doing looting and who's not, right? Like the setups and this and that. I mean, you may not have seen that, but I mean, your opinion on that at least?
I absolutely saw it. I saw, you know, a lot of white Antifa people spray painting and, you know, trying to insert violence unnecessarily, and they're out there, and we need to understand that they're implants. We need to understand that, you know, even in the police department, there's a lot of, you know, Freemasonry going on in the police department.
Yeah.
Not Freemasonry, but it's a lot of Freemasonry influence that plants KKKs in the police department. That's what we're seeing, and they have orders. They have orders to kill us. That's what's happening. They're giving orders, and they're doing it to insert, you know, what's happening now. So we just have to be smart and ahead of the curve, and that's what I mean by that. We need to understand that there's a whole nother media when it comes to, as opposed to the mainstream media. I don't watch mainstream media. The only way I'll go to mainstream media is because I need to know what they're conjuring up, because it was never, you know, set in place for our benefit. So I go to Black media. I go to Dr. Boyce Watkins. I go to Claude Anderson. I go to Vicki Dillard. I go to Farrell Adden, you know, General Seti. I go to my people. I go to African diaspora to understand how we are dealing with this and handling this on a spiritual and an intellectual level. That's what we have to do. We can't depend on mainstream media to tell our stories. We can't depend on them to take care of us or to help us through this, because that's not their agenda.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to ask you one more question then. What is it that you think that we need to do to move this shit forward? What is it that we need to do to get to the other side of this safely, I'll say?
You know, just like the brother said before, we need to keep applying pressure. We need to be loud right now. This is the time to be loud. Yeah. I feel like we are in our glory right now because we have the attention of the whole wide world. Yes. Don't let other people take this fight away from us, because this is our fight. It's been our fight for thousands of years, not even hundreds of years. It's been our fight for thousands of years. And now that we have the whole world at attention and, you know, trying to align themselves with us, we need to make sure we stand and we keep we keep our face at the forefront of this movement. We need to make sure that we communicate with each other, and we need to make sure that in whatever capacity that, you know, you can lend your voice, you can lend your influence, you can lend your mind, your intellect to the movement. Do that. And that's how I feel. Even in the entertainment business, I'm sorry to be so long-winded.
No, that's totally fine. Go with it.
You know what I mean? This is not the time to be scared because you think an executive is going to be pissed off. That's not what this is right now. This is a real, you know, shift. It's a real awakening, and it's time for us to step in our glory and get back on our throne. And Absolutely. That's what we have to do, and be very unapologetic about it. Absolutely. And I've been saying it for the past week now, is that we are in this time right now where we all have access to the same tools, right? And when this smoke clears and it all settles, people are going to very easily be able to look across the room and see who are the ones that did shit and who are the ones that sat on their asses and did nothing. It's going to be very, very apparent. Say that, and that's all facts. And lastly, I'll say that for anyone that's watching, you don't have to be an influencer to get out there and do shit. You don't have to be an influencer or someone with a large stage or presence or voice to make an impact. It can take one person, right? One person you influence is all it takes. That's right. Anything, a comment, you know what I mean? Everybody works at their level, so you can't judge anyone because everybody, you know, works at their level. But allow yourself to be uncomfortable just a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You have to be uncomfortable just a little bit to invoke change. So Indeed. Well, look, thank you so much for your time. You've been amazing, V. I can't wait to see your next stuff coming out. I'm a supporter and a fan. So thank you for your time. You too. Thank you for having me. Take care. Peace. All right. This next brother that's coming on is most certainly an individual that many of us know. Let's see. May know. He is, again, this is one of the most senior brothers in advertising, and I'm really excited to have him on the call. He and I actually met about a year ago and stayed in touch, and I'm fortunate to be able to continue having the conversation with him. Oh, hold on a second. Is this Danny? I got you coming in right now, buddy. Hey, man.
What's happening, Walter?
Can I just say real quick, I dig the frame behind you, Miles Davis.
Yes, sir. I see your left.
I got one right over here on that side.
I see it.
That's what's up, man. Oh, one back there too. Look, man, I really appreciate your time, man, and really happy that you were able to join us this evening. Can you tell folks who you are and what you do, man? For the very few that might not know.
Yeah, that would be most. I can't even tell you what I do. I'm currently the Chief Client Officer of the Martin Agency. I used to be a group creative director at the agency 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe now. Switch roles. I'm a father of a 28 and a 31-year-old daughter and son. Hello, Shelby and Spencer. I'm a loving husband. At least I think that's what my wife would say. And I'm a black man looking for answers. That's who I am.
You're not lying about that, man. You and me both. But also, I do want to say as well, as mentioned, like you are a strong advocate of hiring and promoting people of color and getting people of color into spots and opportunities. You have consistently been an individual who has sent the elevator back down, and that is how you and I met a year ago. So we appreciate everything that you do. I guess I'll start by saying, you know, each one of these I've started with a story of the conversation that we've had, and one that you and I had was an interesting one as well. And I think it was a good conversation because you had said that, you know, in coming on here tonight, you wouldn't be sure with what to say. And I think that a lot of people are in that moment right now. I know myself, like I struggle with how to have this conversation, what to say to people. I have to speak I spoke at my agency yesterday. I have to speak to the agency again tomorrow, and I don't know where to go. So let's start there, man. Like you're kind of where you're at mentally.
Yeah, we talked. My initial response was, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's not because I didn't believe that this was a forum that would make sense, and not that I didn't trust you to handle it right. It's not that I don't think these are important. It's just, like I said, I didn't have any answers. And I don't know that I have answers, but that was troubling to me because I grew up on a historically Black college. I grew up on Hampton Institute's campus. I'm a father of two Black children. I'm the highest ranking executive in my agency, and I've lived 60 years through a lot of this shit. And I figured I'm supposed to have answers, right? So it troubled me that I couldn't say, yeah, Walter, I can come on because I know exactly what I want to say, and I want to preach, I want to tell people. And the other side of it is I've heard so many people on so many programs say things, and I didn't want to be repetitive either.
Yeah.
I didn't want to come on and waste time.
So, but I think that the beauty in that, though, is that for someone of your caliber and stature, I said the first thing my response is that okay? That's okay, right? Because like a lot of us don't know how to feel and what to say and how to engage with people right now, because it's a lot to deal with, right? It's heavy.
Yeah, and I've come up with some things since we talked.
Yeah.
And one of the things I realized, and it isn't new, and it happens every time, but this time in particular, I keep saying, I think the answer is I'm not the one that has to come up with the answers. We're not the ones that need to come up with the answers. I've been saying now, I think it's on white people right now. And I know you said you have a lot of white people in the audience, and it's clear to me, I've known it, but it's become crystal clear that until a critical mass of white people can start and continue to address racism and start to do a deep examination of their relationship and work on it with white supremacy, this isn't going to change. Because if all it took was us walking and uprising and protesting, which we've been doing a long time, things would be okay already. Right. So clearly it isn't just that. And you said you're talking to your agency and you're talking to people. I know we've talked a lot openly at our agency about how tired the people of color at the company are having to talk and explain. And I think it isn't on us to do that. I think it's on white people to educate themselves and to talk to each other and to learn and to come to grips with what really the problem is. And the problem isn't that there are Black people walking around. That's not the problem.
Mm-hmm. You made a mention of a minute ago being tired, and I feel exhausted. Like I'm so over it. Like I appreciate the love and text I'm getting from people, but it's tiring as shit. Like it weighs on me because I have to constantly have the conversation or give the same response. Can you maybe explain what that is like? Because I'm sure you're getting the same thing too. And I think people should understand that when we say we are tired or we are exhausted, they need to know what that would like, why.
Yeah, people ask, I've heard the question, why are you tired? I'm tired. I was tired a year ago because I'm 60. So look, I'm already tired. But to have to explain what I feel has been explained and talked about every time this happens, every MLK Day, every conversation you ever see where race is the issue, to have to continue to explain the broken record syndrome. And I've heard it, I've said it, you've heard me say it, it's been written about. And every time an event like this happens, we go through that again. We have to start over. And so Walter, I said to you, I think this whole thing is layered. And I think Shannon said it. We layered COVID on top of COVID deaths and disproportionate deaths of people of color, on top of being locked inside, on top of a president that is a clown at best, on top of what just happened and restlessness and job loss. I think this whole thing is layered, and what Mark said, this pot boiled again. I think the difference this time is what I see on the front lines are people who don't usually look like the people who are in the fight, in the march. And, you know, I heard Obama talk today about what it looked like in the 60s, those people who were out protesting, and what it looks like now. He said to him, it looks very different. There needs to be more white people walking and marching and talking and joining the cause than black, because we're tired. We're tired.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that too, because again, like after every single incident, it seems, at least for me, that there's something happens every year. I'm talking about this every single year.
Yeah.
And in doing so, I can say that this is the one time where I've had like so many more white people actually stand up and also equally say, I'm tired of this shit too. We need to make a change. And I pray and hope that this is that like bellwether moment, right? Where we say, okay, change is needed, right? Change has to come. You also mentioned, we were talking, I think Sunday morning you were driving around your area, and you live in Richmond.
Yeah.
The feeling of driving, I don't want to kind of say, but can you talk about that experience? What that was like?
Yeah. I've been sequestered, and really sequestered, just COVID. I just decided I'm not going to let going outside take me out. I got this far. I'm not going to let a virus take me down. So I've been inside.
Yeah.
But I went out driving, and we have Monument Avenue, which is probably it's certainly the most beautiful and maybe most historic street, definitely most historic street in Richmond. It is made ugly by a row of Confederate statues, Lee and Jackson, and I drive down that street, and what I saw was every statue was tagged. Wow. Every statue had BLM, fuck the police. It looked like a Berlin Wall, just statue after statue after statue, and protesters sitting in front of them. And I didn't know how to feel when I first saw them. I have a hate relationship with those statues, but there was something about that it didn't sit right. I feel differently now about them. I think they actually it's a snapshot in a moment in time in history, like the Berlin Wall is.
Yeah.
Found out just a little while ago that the governor is proposing that they take down the Jackson statue.
No kidding.
No kidding. After years and years of conversation and talk, and what do we do with the statues? That action says to me that this moment is different than any other moment.
Wow.
This moment has sparked some outrage and fear, and has galvanized some thoughts and principles and some people around things to get stuff done quickly. So, frankly, they look better to me now that they have both sides of the story being told. Yeah. And part of me doesn't want it to come down. I want it to go somewhere so people can see it. But that says to me something else is happening different but yeah, we've seen this before. 1988, you know, NWA is talking about having the authority to kill a minority.
Yep.
This isn't new.
Yeah.
But this might be different.
I would like to hope so. I'd like to hope so. Danny, man, thank you so much for your time tonight, man. You are an inspirational leader, man. And those words that you had said tonight, man, we appreciate that, man. It means a lot.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, man. Take it easy.
Yeah. Peace.
All right. That was actually amazing. I feel like I got some love. So next up, we actually have, a young lady who, if you read the post or you see her, I'm sure you might recognize her. She has performed with everyone from Beyonce to Missy Elliott to like everybody. And plus, I will add, you're like the TikTok queen, apparently I saw. I'm like, damn.
Well, TikTok, you know, I've actually recently deleted my TikTok because
oh, did you really? Yeah,
they muted the Black Lives Matter hashtag, and you know, I've actually seen a video of some blackface content on there that it's a lot of things on there that I don't agree with. So I made the choice to go ahead and delete my TikTok account.
Oh no.
Yeah, I felt like taking a stand on that was the best idea for me right now. Yeah.
Good for you. You had a shit ton of followers. So I'm glad you took that action.
Yeah, man, I had to.
Yeah. So you're in Atlanta right now.
Yeah.
And Atlanta in its own is going through some shit. I mean, like first city area to really open up, that clearly must have been a scary thing. And there was this kind of this feeling of, damn, well, isn't it kind of awkward that like the blackest city in the country is opening up first? It's like they kind of want to test us out first to see how shit goes. So dealing with that this last week, clearly coming up, I mean, it must be a lot you have going on in terms of your feelings and kind of your emotional state right now.
Yeah. First and foremost, we're in the middle of a pandemic. So we're already on edge because it's so much uncertainty. It's so much just cluelessness going on as to like just what is happening. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and then in the middle of it we open up Atlanta, and then we have all these protests and things going on, all these riots going on, and then everybody's just confused. It's a lot of just confusion right now. Nothing is clear. The truth is it's smoke and mirrors. Everything is just not clear right now. So I think it's a lot of just confusion, especially amongst like my peers. I've been speaking to people on the phone. We have text groups of my friends. We just like, what's happening? Everything is just in a ball of confusion right now.
Yeah, I'll say too, it's like mental health is real right now, right? And mental health, and a lot of people confuse mental health with just being like schizophrenia. And mental health it's not the case. I think that Black people right now are dealing with this on a way greater scale, right, than anyone is right now. And it's got to be a challenge to be in a place like that. So where has your mind been at the past week? I mean, since this stuff is kind of come out. I know you, and I don't want to jump ahead, but like I know you also put out you did a rap, posted that blew up and got a shit ton of views and comments. Where's your head at?
Well, like I said, it's just been a lot of confusion, and just yesterday we did a Blackout Tuesday, and I'm actually very grateful. I know a lot of people were like either or about it, but I benefited from the blackout because I actually had a chance to turn off everything. I turned off my TV. I did not stream Netflix. I did not look at not one TV show, not one movie. I turned everything off. All digital entertainment was off for the entire day. And I grounded myself. I prayed. I meditated. I worked out. I got myself completely away from everything and the constant consumption that we're doing right now that's just invading our brains. So it was great to take a step away and to really just get my mind right and to just declutter. Also what I did was I did research. I feel like we have to vote. Thank you. Very much important. So me and my peers, we're like, well, who do we vote for? We don't even know where to start when it comes to research. So I've just been trying to look up all the names that are on the ballots, the sample ballots, to just see like, okay, what do they stand for? Are they on the same page as me when it comes to their stance? It's very important to know who exactly, beyond just the president alone, but who exactly are we putting in offices and being our leaders, because that's very, very important. So my mind has just been on, just like V said, just fighting this in an intelligent way, just trying to get our mind right so that we can fight this smart and not, just be irrational and, so yeah, that's where
I love that you said that. And I love that you took the opportunity to say the amount of time that you're taking to do your research, right? Because what frustrates the shit out of me is that when you have younger kids, especially, people of color, who say shit like, my vote doesn't matter. I'm not going to fucking go vote because it does. And if anything shows right now is that your vote fucking does, right? Because the shit that is happening now is carried through because of the people that we have in office, right? Not to say that, it may stop racism, but most certainly the tone and atmosphere we're dealing with right now has something to do with it. My next question would be then, clearly in Atlanta they had Killer Mike came out and he gave a powerful speech the other day, and it moved me. And it moved me because part of me, truth be said, part of me thought, well, good, I'm glad they're fucking out here and fucking shit up. I'm not gonna lie, right? Mm-hmm. And then the other part of me was like, well, shit, why are they fucking up our stuff, right? Because it makes no sense. I'm conflicted, to be honest with you. What is your thought on that?
I'm in two different places with that, because on one hand, I feel like we're getting the attention that needs to be gotten. You know, if it didn't get to the point that it is at right now, I'm not sure that it would be making the difference that it is with the monuments coming down. Because I do remember stories from people defacing monuments, and they get reprimanded for that, but now they're coming down. So it's definitely a statement being made that needs to be made. But on the other hand, you know, the violence that V was talking about, like we're out here, we're trying to peacefully protest, but there are antagonizers out here that are making it very hard for us to stay peaceful and still do what we need to do. But there are the people that are rioting, that are upset. We're angry. We're mad. You know, I'm on the fence. I feel both ways. I feel like we need to tear some stuff up, and I also feel like we just need to get smart and fight intellectually and be intelligent about the way that we strategize how we're going to move. I think that we all need to be on the same accord. I think we need to normalize talking to each other outside of social media. I think that we get so like, oh, let me get on here and see what my friends are talking about. Oh, I want to repost this and repost that, instead of picking up the phone and calling our friends literally and having a conversation and saying, hey, you know, let's meet up. Let's have this. Let's go to the park and let's sit in a circle and let's bounce ideas off of each other and let's strategize for real. So I'm in both places. Yeah,
that's really interesting. So when this whole thing kicked off, and when things happened in Cooper last week in the park, I don't know that I was angry, more so than I was like, well, here goes this shit again, right? And then there's been this kind of built up kind of frustration, and I feel as though it's because like I feel like I'm constantly have to talk about it and constantly have to engage in it. Where were you at? I mean, when this kind of started last week, and do you feel like as though, because I do sometimes, there's like this burden on you having to explain to people, you know, things they should or shouldn't do and how we move forward?
Yeah, I do feel pressure from our community to get information out about what's going on. It is a redundant conversation. Yeah. I feel like the information is there, y'all. It's been there for years, decades. We don't have to continue to say the same things over and over again. You know what's going on, but people just they want to hear what they want to hear. People will listen to what they want to listen to. So, you know, it's about the people that are actually going to take the time to listen for real, retain it, put it into action, you know, and that's outside of the Black community. I've definitely had people, like you said, that have reached out to me like, hey, you know, what can I do? I've had those conversations. It's just like, you know, like someone said earlier, you know, if you're in a position to help a Black person, just help, like, any way you can. Everybody has a role to play. I'm an artist, so I'm going to create art. That is my role, and that's what I am here to do. I feel like God gave me this platform and all these followers for a reason, and I'm not going to stop talking. I'm not going to shut up. You know, I have to speak. God gave me this platform to speak, and I'm going to speak, and I'm going to create art. I'm going to dance. I'm going to sing. I'm going to literally pour out my creativity, and that's the way that I know how to express myself. There's so many roles that you can play in this, and just finding out what that is and then using your voice in the right way.
Absolutely. I think that's so well said, because there's like everyone has a way that they can actually make impact. Yes. Right? It's about finding what is that thing in yourself that you can do to go out and help. I absolutely love that. Is there any last words you might want to say before you press from there?
I did want to recite my piece.
Go for it. Do it.
Yeah. So
absolutely.
I'll start it off.
And for the folks that are aware, this is a post that she did a few days ago that went pretty viral. So yeah. I was hoping you were gonna do it. I didn't want to put you on the spot.
Yes. Like, he asked me. No music. Everybody snap along. So I wish America loved Black people like they love Black culture. Quick to take black ideas and sell it to these vultures with a different name. These cornrows, not boxer braids. This go back to slaves. Food and freedom paved in mains, bless the lives they saved. It's 2020, my people dying. How are we still in pain? Screaming and pleading for our lives, eyes filled with rage. Feels like the progress made before us was all in fucking vain. My skin complexion put a target on my head, but y'all don't care. Oh well, they're going to the black bitch dead. We never mattered. Do you know how it feels to be black? You can never. Dead ass, you want our rhythm, not our blues. You're amused as we're constantly being used and abused. We don't get justice till we post our deaths for views. So how are you confused? We tried to be peaceful. We tried Black Wall Street. We tried to march, obey the law. We started a riot. We tore down walls, rebuilt our communities to watch them fall. I'm fresh out of ideas. We done tried them all. We turn our face to God. Please hear our call. Lord, just be our guide. Promise we won't fall. We need some strategy. Give us ideas. Give us new visions because we've already been here. It's time to break down these chains. Break down the system until nothing remains. Until nothing remains.
That was amazing. That was incredible. And for any folks that want to see that with the music behind it, that is on your page. I think it's like 3 posts ago, something like that, right?
Yeah, it's a couple posts ago now. It's on my IGTV though. So if you go to my IGTV, it is on there. I did it on top of the Jay-Z beats, Still Nigga. And it is actually from Nina Simone for Women, which also, you know, is a very important song that everyone should go listen to. Absolutely. You should listen to Nina Simone. You should listen to Jay-Z and go listen to my IGTV.
Don't forget that one. Check that box. Checked. Got you. Thank you so much for your time, Ahsia. I appreciate it. We'll continue to watch everything you do. So thank you again. Thank
you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem. It's my pleasure.
All right.
Take it easy.
All right, you too.
That was dope. So go check that out. That was actually one of the first things I saw from her, and I was pretty amazed by what she had done. Here's another brother here that is, when we talk about folks that are outspoken, put your seatbelts on because I know this brother has a lot to say.
That's good.
My man, Joe.
All right.
CEO of Hero Collective Agency.
Yes, sir.
Based out of Manhattan, doing real stuff. We've been just looking for an opportunity to figure out how we do some work together. It's gonna happen.
No doubt. No, I'm completely. That's one thing that I know is written, my brother. So yeah. I'm waiting for the day, but in the interim, I am blessed and excited to be part of this forum today. And I see how you set it up. You have all these old dudes following all these dynamic, beautiful women. Right. And I know it's like beautiful, amazing woman, old dude, right?
You're not old, Joe. Come on now. You're not old.
Oh, man, I feel it, man. I think we all feel a little older nowadays, man. But I got to tell you, man, I'm angry. I'm frustrated like everyone else, but I'm amped. I am ready for the change that is happening right now. I'm proud of our young people on the front lines making change, putting themselves and their lives at risk. You know, George Floyd is going to go down as a martyr. And one thing that we need to do, Tamika Mallory in Houston today, from the organization Until Freedom, who is a prolific up-and-coming leader within the Black community, gave an impassioned speech today and basically said George Floyd is a martyr and that individual is going to go down. His death is not going to be in vain. The world is moving for a just think about it, a regular person, brother from Minneapolis, right, who tragically had his life taken, is now mobilizing a planet, mobilizing a global community to create the type of systemic change that we've been waiting for decades. If we have to do this brother's memory justice by taking this energy, this anger, this frustration, and now magnifying it into action to really make sure that we are instituting the change necessary to make all the lives of every other person of color, every other marginalized community out there, make them their lives increasingly better. So anyway, with that, my brother, man, I'm excited to be here, man.
No, that's perfect, man. That was perfect lead in. So here's a tough one. Where does it start, man? Where do we begin? Right? So we're here today. How do we move the needle? How do we make sure that this is something that sticks, right? And that there's follow through here? Because a lot of the times it's hot for a minute and then it's gone next week. Right? So we have a president who next week is going to be some other shit that he brings up. And what I don't want is for this to be forgotten. Right?
Well, I think one, we have to demand it. We have to unify. We have to organize. We have to aggregate. We have to galvanize. We have to come together, and we have to and create structure around what we're demanding. Right? And that's something that white America and the unconscious biases that have governed the way that white people have interacted with black people, and how they have systematically helped devalue our sense of self-worth, has enabled us to come together and mobilize and organize like other ethnic groups. And I think one thing we need to do in the wake of George Floyd's death is we need to come together, put our differences aside, and understand the macro issues that are before us as a people, and demand that corporations, our government, and the organizations that create policies that impact our quality of life now follow through. So organization, I think, is one. Two, we have to move from empathy to empowerment. Right now, what we're getting from every leader around the world, every corporate leader, is, hey, we feel really bad for what happened, and da 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 da. Their apathy and their disinterest is what has led to this level of corruption and corrupt behavior, right? So we have to hold every person who in a position of power and influence, and let's not get it twisted, right? I've been on conversations with brands and leaders saying, what can we do, Joe? We just run a business, okay? America is a business, okay? And if you don't think that this country is influenced by lobbying dollars and the money that is generated by corporate wealth, then you're just living in a fantasy land, right? And our dollar matters, and the influence we have with these companies needs to start impacting the way that they operate to ensure the change that we need. We need economic empowerment. We need to move from empathy to equity and investment. We need to see those dollars move into our community and through the development of sustainable, real programs that start to create Black wealth, so that we can invest in our communities, so that we can have a sense of pride, and we can start influencing policy the same way they do, to ensure that the policing that happens in our neighborhoods happens in a way it's the same and exact as it does in the white upper class neighborhoods. Yep. And that is just the reality of it, my brother. We are living in a Hippocratic country that makes rules up as it goes along to benefit those who make the most contributions, and that needs to stop.
Yeah. So let me ask you, you touched on something I want to touch on real quick, is the fact that you were talking to a lot of executives and business owners and brands. There were a lot who fucked up yesterday with Black Tuesday.
No doubt.
And Black Twitter tore it apart. How do brands need to move forward now with reaching back? Because I feel like the culture has moved a lot of brands forward and made a lot of money for a lot of brands, right? And I look at this as an opportunity for them to turn around and give back. So how does that happen? I mean,
well, I think one of the biggest issues that brands are making is that in this moment of crisis, they're reverting to the resources they currently have accessible to them to inform the decisions and the actions that they're taking. But what they don't realize is that they're deficient and don't have the adequate resources to inform the right action. If they had, they would have been doing more to begin with. Mm-hmm. So a lot of these companies are talking about how we're looking within, and we're talking to our own people. You need to reach out. You need to extend outward. You need to bring in resources that you haven't invited into your organization before, that have the cultural aptitude, that have the cultural intelligence to help inform the way you need to move, right? The reality is we've seen the diversity and inclusion industry kind of explode as these companies almost, firewall, so to speak, to help insulate their white leadership from having to take the brunt of the lobbying efforts that are happening from within our community, right? And it's not fair to them because they're not bestowed with the type of power to make the change. So these C-suite executives have to get their hands dirty. They have to roll their sleeves up. They have to start policing middle management. They have to start having conversations with HR. They have to start looking at their protocol and their practices, from their hiring methodologies to supplier diversity. How much money are they spending within the Black community and Black businesses? We keep hearing all of these, well, we're going to hire all these agencies and expect them to hit the quotas that represent the diverse benchmarks that we expect for companies that have teams working on our accounts. Those days are over, man. You can't police something from your ivory tower.
Yep.
You have to get involved.
Yep.
And all of these words have to turn into action. It has to move beyond donations. Donations are cute, they're good, but it has to move to investments,
yes,
into equity, into partnership. These are the things that we need to help the C-suite understand that just giving money to the Urban League, NAACP, the National Ahsia Network, yes, that is table stakes now. That's not your strategy.
Yep.
The idea is you now have to actually do the work,
yep,
the investigation to identify the partners, right, that could add value to your business, that have the same, the shade of skin color that you and I have.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right? We could
Yep.
do the work. Don't come to me and say you can't find us. You can't find us because you're not looking.
Yep.
And that's what we need to change.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we could go on all night, but let me ask, man, if there's last question, man, what is the one thing you want to get off your chest about what you see going on, about something you might ask of people to do? Like, what do you want to say, man?
Look, man, I think you kind of said it. I want to keep the pressure on,
Yep.
right? George Floyd lost the most valuable thing in the world, life.
Yeah.
Okay. All we need to do now is put what? Our well-being, our jobs, our reputation in the crosshairs. That's a simple price to pay for the ultimate price that he did, right? Continue to put yourself out there. Continue to be brave. Continue to be courageous. Treat this as a zero-sum game. Your life is on the line. Your family's life is on the line. I need to make sure my son is good. I need to make sure my wife is good. I got to provide for my family, right? There are George Floyds dying every day from neglect.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
From mental illness, because they're so depressed that they don't have an opportunity to get out there in life and make something of themselves, because of the systematic oppression that has impacted their ability to live a normal life. Us that are privileged in this community to have a job and have a position, have a platform, need to be courageous and put ourselves out there without fear of reprieve. Get out there and be courageous, y'all. We need to do it for George. We need to do it for our families. We need to do it for our people.
Look, man, I always appreciate having conversations with you. I feel we go deep every single time. So thank you for your words tonight. And I told people, I said, this shit's gonna come. You can bring the heat, man.
No, I get it in, bro. I get it in. Like,
is.
dude, I'm a career entrepreneur. I'm a public school kid from Queens, man. I come from nothing.
Yeah.
I'm a self-made dude, right? And my whole life I've been fighting to try and create an equal playing field and to demonstrate that my talent is as good, if not better, than my white counterpart, because it has to be. In order for me to even have an invitation to the party, right? So I'm going to keep that same mentality, man. We got to come in here and bring the same resilient attitude. Black people are some of the most resilient, talented, most gifted people on this planet. Don't forget that. All right. Pressure creates diamonds. We are diamonds. We shine. We're going to shine through this. So we got to continue to shine. Understand that. We have gifts. Use them.
Absolutely, my man. You guys need to follow this brother right here, man. Joe Anthony Speaks. Thank you for your words tonight, man. And I'll be seeing you soon, man.
Thank you, Walt. Thank you for putting this together, my brother. Peace.
No doubt. Take it easy, bro. I told you guys that yeah, we was gonna go there. Here's a young lady here who is a counterpart of mine, and she's gonna help me close out this evening. And for those of you who may have seen her before, Wally Holloway is the assistant managing partner over at TBWA World Health with me, and one of my 3 counterparts on the Black Health Now initiative. Before we go into your kind of you saying what it is you have to say, because you're so much more eloquent and better than me at saying it, what is your thoughts on everything that everyone said tonight? I mean, what kind of stuck with you?
I love it. I love all of it. I think that, we've talked about this. I think this was a great people need to hear all of it. And I think what strikes me is the different perspectives, right? I mean, you had a range of Black executives and different points of view regarding what more is there to say to this is exactly what we need to do to, a range of emotions associated with it. I mean, and all of that's true for all of us. So what strikes me is that, we're dealing with this in our own way every single day. But I think the common theme that definitely came out was there's more to do and we have to keep our foot on the gas. I agree with that.
Absolutely. I was really inspired tonight by everything that everyone said. And I gotta admit, and from our conversations, I was worried about tonight, right? And I didn't know that we would have the turnout that we did. So appreciate everyone coming out. But there's I wanted to make sure that this was a safe space for everyone. Yeah. And I'm really happy that everyone was able to be so authentic and real, because it's hard to do that. And it's hard, I'll say for the folks that are watching, as a Black executive, to go out in public and speak your mind and speak on these type of issues is difficult. It's very hard because we often don't want to look like the angry Black man or the angry Black person. And, here's this person with the attitude. So there is a line that we walk that is a challenging one, to say the least.
Yeah, I totally agree. Every single day.
So, yeah. I mean, you're in the city, right? So tell us a little bit about what you're dealing with in this whole experience.
Yeah, I live in Harlem. I'm in New York. I'm in New York City. As Walter said, we work together. I'm an associate managing partner at our agency, and it's a lot, as we've kind of talked about. I've been dealing with it from a couple of different perspectives. One is, I live in a neighborhood that's changing, right? But still a lot of Black people here, and there are a range of emotions. For me personally, it's been a mixture between heartbreak with everything that's happening and outrage. I go back and forth between the two. But I think that one of the things that for me, it kind of strikes me too, is the fact that I'm not surprised at any of this. None of us are. I mean, your other panelists talked about that. I mean, we all have this feeling of, again, right? But we experience this, we've experienced this for decades, for years, right? For centuries, and it's yet another thing. My background, I grew up in a family, many of us did, with, community activists and, parents and family that were on the front lines and the civil rights movement. And my sister, when she went to her university, my older sister, there weren't many Blacks on her campus. So they were always advocating for what was right for them. So I grew up surrounded by that. So I guess, my point is they did it. Those who went before us have done it over and over, and they never felt like the work was done. So part of me is like, wow, it's 2020, and professionals like us and others, no matter what your socioeconomic background is or your education level, we're still in the situation where potentially we could be at risk for some of the things that we're seeing happening now, and all the others. So it's disheartening, but my hope is that people learn from this, right? That I feel like people are paying attention to what's really happening. There've been a lot of conversations around why is it still going on? This is like the 8th day of this. And it's going on because there have been so many.
Absolutely.
And those are just the ones we've seen on video. Like, think
Absolutely.
of the hundreds that we haven't. And if people haven't been paying attention, it's all connected, right? And, you know, with people seeking justice for us many times, especially with this kind of injustice and brutality, when we go home and we wait by the phone and we wait for the DA to investigate or the police chief or whatever, the phone call never comes and nothing happens. So this is a culmination of all the rage. George was just the straw that broke the camel's back. And there are others whose names we all know well that have been happening over and over and over. Express action. So going back to your question, you know, my hope is that people are finally paying attention, that we're having the right conversations.
Absolutely.
President Obama said earlier, you know, like, there are tangible things we can do. Your previous guest just said it, you know, evidence-based reform is going to be important. And I think there's a narrative now, not just around the injustice, but around what we want to happen. And my hope is that for all of us as Black people, that we remain resilient and determined, because we have come so far, right? We are not in the place that our grandparents and our forefathers were. I mean, we're not in that place. We're in a different place, but we've still got more work to do.
I agree. I have trouble with feeling that we've gotten far. I think we've gone, I mean, most certainly more further than our grandparents and so on and so forth. But I feel like the murders are happening in a way that, how do I say? In a way, I don't know. It's hard to explain. I just feel it's being covered up in a different way, right? Like, no one's marching down the street in fucking hoods, right? But it's covered by a badge, right? And I can honestly say that I don't feel, I as a 42-year-old man, I don't feel comfortable and confident a lot of times when I have confrontations or issues or pulled over by a police officer. It's a scary thing.
Yeah. And you shouldn't feel that way. And none of my family should feel that way. It's a real thing. And when I say that we've come far, you know, yes, people experienced that in the 60s and the 50s, you know, in the South and across this nation. But, you know, there were horrors that have been brought on our community over the history of our being here that were horrendous. And, you know, what we saw with this man being killed on videotape, that was horrible. And nobody should have to live in fear the way that you described and your other panelists and me and my family. We shouldn't have to. But that's why there's just so much more that we have to do.
Absolutely. Wally, I'm going to allow you to close us out for us tonight. Are there any last words or what you think? Because we've had a lot of people. As I closed out the first one, notice we had just over 1,000 people actually joining tonight.
Yeah.
Is there any words of wisdom or anything you'd like to give to folks on the way out?
I would just say, you know what, you and I have talked about it before. I think this is a moment where people are starting to see things differently. I would say that for people who are not of the Black community to continue to pay attention, to be out there, to activate change, to continue to have the conversations with people that you work with in your offices and your friends and your family, and really make an attempt to understand what's happening so you can be a part of that change. I think that's important. For Black people, I think it's important that we take care of ourselves and that we are there for each other.
Absolutely. Wally, thank you so much for joining. It's always a pleasure conversating with you. I guess I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you for doing this, Walter.
All right, take it easy. Have a good one, Wally. So, excuse me. So that is it, folks. I appreciate everybody coming out. It most certainly means a lot. I didn't know what type of crowd would come up or show up tonight. My expectation was, or hopes at least, was that we can get a few people in here to listen, right? Because I think where this starts at is listening, right? And understanding how we feel and understanding what we're going through. It's a difficult time now. And I want to say as well to my other black and brown people that are watching, it is okay to feel as though you don't know how to answer a question, or feel in your feelings. We are having to go into work every day and sit in meetings and send emails and talk on calls and present to clients as if this shit isn't happening around us. And I try my hardest to kind of keep this outside of work, but even myself, like I was on a call the other day and I broke down right in the middle of the call because it's difficult and we feel as though we are carrying so much on our shoulders. So I appreciate and applaud all of you for attending and listening tonight. My wish is that you would take some of this information and take some of the things that you've learned this evening from these individuals and share them with other people, right? And when you talk to other people of color, talk about some of these issues, you might know a little better about how to engage in those conversations and the way we might be feeling right now. So thank you again. I appreciate it. This will be on my account, I think, for another 20, or no, this will be on my account permanently. They'll be posted as IGTV ads. We will also get this up, or I'll get it up on YouTube within the next day or two. So thank you. Continue to inspire and help one another. And I pray we all get on the other side of this as quickly as possible. Thanks, everybody, for showing up.